The agonizing death of the webinar. The LGM, short for lead generation magnet, is going strong and creating fortunes for coaches, consultants, advisors, agencies, service pros, and solution providers who know how to use it correctly. But the webinar, like the teleseminar before it, is beginning to fade. Because there's a new kid in town, and he's smarter, more powerful, and all the cool kids want to be like him. But wait a minute, aren't there people out here telling you that you can make a fortune with one 45-minute webinar presentation? Well, now is the time to check out the new bad boy of the LGM world. Or if you're on mobile, the link is at the top. Or if you're watching this on Facebook or LinkedIn, there's a Learn More button below. Because the agonizing death of the webinar is on the horizon. Why do I say agonizing? Well, have you ever seen a snapping turtle or a pit bull or one of those animals that won't let go no matter what, even if its life is being threatened? That's what too many entrepreneurs are like. They find something that's worked even moderately well for a while, but when it's outlived its usefulness, they can't relax their jaws to let go and move on. It reminds me of Blockbuster Video, when they ruled the roost, employing 84,000 worldwide with 9,000 outlets. But with the rise of Netflix and other streaming providers, Blockbuster hung on for dear life and went the way of the dodo bird. It was the same for the leader in photographic film for decades, and famous for the tagline, Kodak moment. But Kodak was afraid to innovate, and even though they developed the first digital camera in 1975, they worried about doing anything that would interfere with their market dominance in photographic film. So they were soon choking on the dust of Fuji and other rivals, and finally filed for bankruptcy in 2012. That's also what's happening with so many entrepreneurs who are stuck in the 90s of lead generation. They've been hanging by their heavily chewed fingernails during the pandemic, pounding the phones, spamming anybody with a pulse, and waiting for the time they can get back to schlepping all around the country, trolling for clients at seminars, conventions, business association meetings, anywhere there's anyone with a pulse. But what should have happened to these folks during the various lockdowns was a good whack upside the head. In other words, a wake-up call to embrace the digital age that would lighten their load and work equally well or better, especially when those old and moldy lead generation methods never worked that well in the first place. Yet what I'm seeing as I'm talking to new clients is that the temptation of returning to the familiar is almost impossible to ignore. All I can say is don't go back to the dark ages of lead gen, when there are infinitely easier ways to get more and better leads without the back-breaking grunt work and manual labor of chasing them all over the country and all over the internet. And don't be afraid to innovate and move beyond webinars, or you may lose it all, like Blockbuster or Kodak. Instead, step right up and see the marketing breakthrough we're running with at Science of Client Getting. And I'm not saying webinars are dead. They're still useful. We still use them. But they're not the bright, shiny object they once were. Let me show you something that is far more engaging than any passively watched webinar. Something that leads to pre-sold, pre-educated clients who are easier to enroll and make much better clients. Some people have taken to calling it a branched webinar, but it's much more than that. It's the wave of the future, and you can see it in action right here. And don't worry, you don't have to give up using webinars or email or the telephone, but if you want to stay in the game, you owe it to yourself to check out this interactive alternative. There are over a dozen detailed case studies at that link. Coaches, consultants, advisors, all manner of experts in every conceivable field or niche, ramping up their lead flow, improving the quality of those leads, earning more and working less. Like Perry Marshall, who used this system to sell out his expensive 80-20 trainings without writing a single word of sales copy. Or Yannick Silver, who woke up a dead email list and slammed 50 grand into his merchant account in the first weekend. Or Avi Rosowski, who helps real estate investors find motivated sellers. He was able to generate 613 leads in just the first 6 weeks with an 852% return on ad spend. Click the link and let me show you what I'm talking about. Because remember, there's always a big bump in response when a powerful new messaging format rolls into town, like the printing press, the Pony Express, the telephone, the internet, the teleseminar, social media, the webinar. And to the early adopter go the spoils.